This video is going to be a bit of a grab bag, so be prepared to bounce around between several topics and framing processes in a couple different locations on the house. We are almost done with the first floor wall sheathing. And I want to point out these two beam pockets that are in the walls and penetrate the wall sheathing. Eventually there will be a roof over the back patio. We'll be setting 2 glue-lam beams back here. And so right now is the time to prep for that by creating the beam pockets and the posts in those beam pockets to hold those glue lamps up. For the south wall of our house, it's a tall gable end wall that faces out across the view. We made the decision to use zip instead of OSB for the wall sheathing. The thinking was that since this wall is so much taller and more exposed to the oncoming weather, that it was worth the extra money for a more waterproof substrate behind the siding. Now, I've never used zip before, and I can't really speak to whether or not it's actually better. But from what I understand, the consensus is that it's money well spent. We will know more later about that. Another reason I wanted to put it on this wall was so I could get a little experience with it and get my hands on the stuff. I hardly ever see it around here on new construction, and one of the reasons for that, I'm sure, is that it is quite a bit more expensive. So far, all of my initial impressions of the product are pretty positive. Like any engineered wood product, of course, you've got to make sure you read the installation guidelines before you tear into it. There are specific procedures on how this is to be installed that make a difference in both how it performs and how it holds up. With zip, the first thing this means is using the correct fasteners. I'm using 8-penny galvanized gun nails and making sure they are driven into the correct depth. Flush. Not countersunk, not standing up proud, but flush. I'm standing in the stairwell of what will be the second set of stairs in our house and putting the rim board on the tops of the walls, just like we did on the exterior walls. Now this part of the house, the intersection between the garage and the main house, is going to show up again and again as a serious complication in the framing of this house. The way these two shapes connect is sort of like a puzzle. Now from time to time you run into one of these complicated carpentry puzzles, and they can provoke a little anxiety. But one of the first things to remember is that you don't have to get too distracted by thinking way, way ahead and trying to solve every single problem in advance. You kind of have to just put one foot in front of the other and install the next obvious board one at a time. Right now, that means these rim boards. This whole corner here, the stairs, the remaining floor joists, even the decking, sort of has to all be built at once. I can't just do all of the work that has to be done in one little quadrant and then move over to the next section and finish that up. It all has to get built together. In other words, I'm going to have to jump back and forth between tasks a little bit, so just sit back and relax and enjoy watching me scratch my head at times. The real distraction that I have to avoid, or at least recognize, comes with the realization that however tricky the floor and the stairs are right here and right now, the roof in this end of the house is going to be much, much worse. Thanks for joining us with our Spec House series. We're going to be working a lot in this corner for the next couple episodes, so sort of settle in and expect to spend a little time right here. If you would like, take a look in the video description for additional information about this project. If you have questions, you can leave them in the comments and we'll try and address them on the podcast or in a future episode of the series. Thanks for watching, and keep up the good work.